I want to thank Eddie Owen and Eddie Owen presents so much.
This is one of the greatest places to play that we get to play.
And this is really something special that they've got here.
Eddie is so kind to have us here, and so many great songwriters come through here.
Anyone who meets Eddie Owen is, I feel like, feels the same deep luck of having met a unicorn man.
Yes.
And he is a special ingredient in any community he inhabits, and I know that you know that. And I just want to recognize that, like, it takes someone who has a heart that's inordinately large and has a capacity past normal human capacities, and to love music and people who make it as deeply as Eddie does, enough for him to invest in us and keep investing in us and invest in a place like this, and bringing just excellent music to this stage, and also giving people a shot at the very, very beginning. And I feel like I benefit from that entire spectrum, and love him deeply. And he, I've had Thanksgiving dinner with him, and I left my makeup bag in Maine, and he was willing to go to the Walgreens and get me a bunch of makeup, and I was like, just stop that. Anyway, we deeply love Eddie. Thank goodness for Eddie.
Yes.
We want to thank Eddie.
And we want to thank Eddie for having us here at the Red Clay Music Foundry.
And we're just so fortunate for both he and Eddie Owens for making this place.
Thank you for Eddie for doing what you've done with this venue.
I took the train out and didn't realize the trains wouldn't be running by the time I was done, and I had spent all my money on the ticket, and I had no cash left, and Eddie gave me money and stuck me in a cab. Had no idea who I was, but I was the idiot from California stranded at his bar.
Eddie and the whole gang have just been so good to us.
Thank you for hosting an incredible music venue and revitalizing neighborhoods.
And we want to thank Eddie.
I want to say a huge, huge thank you to Eddie Owen.
Eddie is just an amazing man. He is a legend.
And I want to thank Eddie and Shalom and all the beautiful staff here at the Red Clay Music Foundry. This is such a wonderful venue. This is our lifeblood that places like this exist.
No secret, this is one of my favorite places to play in the country.
And we musicians, we all talk to each other. And we always talk about all the promoters that we work for, and that we speak in dulcet, hateful tones about them. But nobody's ever said a bad word about Eddie Owen. Ever.
This is a jewel of a little theater. Thank you so much for having us here, Eddie.
Thank you very much, Eddie, for having us back.
And thanks to Eddie for having me. He's one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. He really is.
We want to say a huge thank you to Shalom, Eddie, everybody here in the Red Clay Music Foundry. It's an absolutely stunning theater.
This is a wonderful place.
I believe that Eddie Owen is largely responsible for the contents of this song to some degree or another.
Oh, yeah, because
in terms of fate introducing people. Let's give a round of applause for Eddie Owen connecting people.
Last but certainly not least, Eddie, for bringing us back.
I want to thank Eddie for having me.
This is one of those places you dream about, and some places just feel like home because somebody puts in the time and the effort to make it feel like home. We're just very lucky, and just very, very lucky to have a guy like Eddie Owens that takes such good care of us.
But I'm really excited to be here. I've been trying to get into this joint since it started, I think. Sending emails to Eddie over and over again. Finally, I'm here. It's so great. I'm so happy.
And thanks so much to Eddie. It's been a long time since I've seen him, and this is so fun, and this theater is so fabulous.
I just want to say thanks to Eddie and everyone, and Shalom on sound, everyone here that, man, there are some gigs you play where you're like, yeah, I don't want to go back there. And then some you wish you could play every night, And this is definitely one of those.
And truly, thank you for Eddie Owen and Red Clay here. It's always a pleasure to come and play. It's the highlight of my year.
And because Eddie has amazing faith in musicians, whether they're established and can bring in a room full of people or whether they're just starting out.
Really, really great to be back with Eddie again and playing this wonderful theater.
Eddie for having us in his fine establishment here.
Yeah, thanks to Eddie for having me in here. It's a great place.
We are so happy to be here
our feelings about Eddie match his for us. He is such a wonderful man, and this place is magic.
Isn't this a lovely establishment? They treat you really nice, and thank you, Eddie. For always having us back and believing us.
So I gotta tell you how inspired I am to be at Eddie's, because Eddie loves musicians, and there aren't a lot of people that love musicians, so thank you, Eddie, for loving musicians. I say, me, oh my, how could this be up Friday night at Eddie's at the Red Clay Theater? It's getting hot, get hot, get high at her. My friend Glenn, breaking it down, dancing like you never seen him dance again. Probably a limited time offering. You see him, he was kind of scoffering at the sports that we were sporting. He was like, hey, I'm here live and I'm reporting the process I gotta trust. He said, well, maybe my dance moves ain't to bust, cause he was feeling it. He was popping that shoulder. He'd do more moves if he wasn't a little older. Glenn Phillips, not so young, he said, but he could still get sprung, but not sprung like an ankle that he done sprained. He said that was crazy cause it kind of drained and then inflamed, so he had to ice it down. Now you won't see him running around your town, but maybe in Duluth. I'll tell you the truth, it was one time I sipped some 100 proof with Eddie Owens downstairs, you see. He was like, hang out and drink whiskey with me. I'm like, okay. And it was 3 a.m., so I had another sip with him like an old friend. Me and Ryan Shea and Mr. Glenn. He was like, you could come back again. I said, come back? I think I'm ever gonna leave. More whiskey for you and more whiskey for me, but you don't even know what I'm talking about. But it was Eddie Owen Presents, and I was running my mouth, and it was Friday night. She was raising the roof. She was like, I'm sipping something 100 proof too. I was like, roof raising lady.